Todd Martin here. In this video, we are going to look at the most versatile dance step out there, and that is the step touch. The step touch is what you can do at the club, you can do at a wedding, you can do it by yourself, you can do it with a partner. I'm going to show you how to do it, and I'm going to show you how to do it right using your body so it really flows. And I'm going to show you some different variations of the step touch, and then in the usual style of this channel, I'm going to show you how to use your core to really make that step touch happen naturally. Remember to click the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber, and click on the bell so you can get notifications for my future videos. So let's get going. So the step touch is basically this side to side where I step, touch with the foot, step, touch, step, touch, step, touch, step, touch. And it looks like this is going on with my legs only and my body is just standing still, but it really is the body that is making this happen. And when you learn how to use your body correctly with it, you can really flow it in different sorts of directions to give it your own styling. You can also, when you're using your body correctly, use this as a lead and follow with a partner. I'm going to use my direction root power system to show you how to do the step touch correctly using your core. So if you haven't seen any of my direction root power videos, what we're looking at is how to do any movement with the three elements of the core. Direction is going to be controlled by your upper torso rotation. So if you are turning your upper torso right or left, that is the direction that you're going. Root is going to be how we're rooting with the lower torso. So if I have my lower torso engaged on my left, I'm rooting my left leg. If I have my lower torso engaged on the right, I'm rooting my right leg. And then we have power. Power comes from our hip joints. So I can flex my hip or I can extend my hip. And depending on which one I'm doing and which leg I'm doing it with, that's going to control the power of the movement. So every motion that we do has a component of direction, upper torso turning to the left or to the right, root, lower torso turning to the left or to the right, and power, flexion of my right hip, extension of the right hip, or flexion of the left hip, extension of the left hip. When we combine the direction, root, and power, we can control every movement we're doing. And so now we're going to apply that to the step touch. If I do the step touch simply like this, it doesn't look like there's anything going on up here. It seems like all the motion is coming from my legs. But in fact, it's the direction and the root in conjunction with the power that's making it happen. So when I step, touch, step, touch, step, touch. When I step to the left, my direction is turning to the left, meaning my upper torso on the right is turning to the left. That is the motion. That's the direction. The root, when I step towards the left, is going to be on my right leg. And in the step touch video, you can always assume your root is going to be on the leg that is grounded. So when I'm stepping to the left, my root initially is on the right. And then the power is going to be flexion of my left hip. So I'm essentially lifting my left hip up as I root my right leg and turn my upper torso to the left. That is the step. And then now I have to collect the weight over to this leg, which means I'm going to continue my direction, turning to the left. I'm going to change my root to the left, meaning my belly button is going to turn over towards the left, and I'm going to change my hip action to flexion of my right hip, lifting my right hip up, and I got the touch. Now I want to step back to the right, so I'm going to change my direction to turning to the right, upper torso turning to the right, root still on the left now, this hip is still flexing. Step, change the root, change the hip flexion, touch. Step, touch, step, touch, step, touch, step, touch. Direction is always towards the new leg. Direction towards the new leg. Direction towards the new leg. If I do it without emphasis, it looks like the torso is not doing anything, but I'm really doing this if I exaggerate it. Root is on the standing leg, and now the new standing leg. Standing leg, new standing leg. Standing leg, new standing leg. The belly button is going to turn towards that new standing leg. I turn my belly button towards the left. To change weight, or the root, I change my belly button to the right. So root on the right, left, right, left. Exaggerate your belly button motion so you can feel how that root is changing from the right to the left. Right, left, right, left. Keep my belly button to the left. Now turn it to the right. Keep my belly button to the left. Belly button still to the left. Now belly button goes to the right. That releases this leg from the ground and changes my weight, or the root, to the right leg. Right, left, right, left. The direction with the root. Direction with the root. Direction, now the root. Direction, now the root. Direction turns to the left, now the root turns to the left. Direction turns to the right, now the root turns to the right. Now the power, or the hip action, is going to be lifting. So that's flexion. I'm flexing my left hip. I'm flexing my left hip as I turn the direction. Now to change weight fully, I'm going to lift or flex my right hip to change weight and do the touch. Now I'm going to step to the right, flexing my right hip. Now I'm going to flex my left hip as I change the root, touch, step, touch, step, touch. Emphasizing the direction. Now emphasizing the root. Now I'm going to emphasize the hip flexion, power. Flexion, 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 flexion. Flexion of the left hip, flexion of the right hip. Flexion of the right hip, flexion of the left hip. Flexion of the left hip, flexion of the right hip. When I combine my direction, my root, and my power, I have the step touch. When we're doing our basic movements, we can't see the rotation because we're only rotating the direction and the root enough to get the body to move and not enough to get you to see what's happening. So I can use direction to reach forward with my right arm, and you don't really see anything happening here. But if I exaggerate the motion, now you can see where that energy is coming from, but it's still just creating the same arm motion. So same thing when I'm doing my step touch. I'm turning my upper torso on the right just enough to get my body to move, not enough for you to see this turning. But if I am wanting to exaggerate that, I can exaggerate it like this and the same movement happens, but you get a more exaggerated feel or look from the upper torso. And that's how you can add some styling to the movement. I exaggerate the direction, and then if you start throwing some snaps in there, now you have the same motion as this, but you've just added an exaggerated movement of your direction. Add a snap when you do the touch, and you have a dance move. Now I'm going to show you a second way of doing the step touch that is going to have a slightly different curve to it. And it's helpful to know this because it's going to affect what the arms are doing. And if you are trying to lead a partner in a step touch, it's going to be helpful to know because the partner is going to be doing the opposite motion from what you're doing. So if I am turning this way to step touch, my partner is going to be turning the opposite way to do the same step touch. And that's how we coordinate our movements. Because when I dance with somebody, when I'm turning forward on my right side, she is also going to be turning forward on her right side, filling the gap that I'm creating when I turn forward on this side. So we are creating a full circle. When I turn forward on my left, my partner will be turning forward on her left, filling this space. So the next way of doing the step touch is to turn towards your standing leg, or that rooted leg, keeping the root here, and then change my root and touch this way. Now I'm going to turn towards the standing leg, now change the root. Turn towards the standing leg and change the root. In the first way, I turned towards the swing leg, then changed the root. Turn towards the swing leg, change the root. Turn towards the swing leg, change the root. Now I'm going to turn towards the standing leg and then change the root. Towards the standing leg, change the root. Standing leg, change the root. So the hip action, or the power, is working the same way as the previous method. The root is also working the same way as the previous method. What I'm changing is the direction. So in a sense, I'm curving this way instead of curving this way. This was the first pattern I showed you. That's a curve towards the outside circle, like the circle in front of my body. Now I'm going to change it and curve towards the back half of the circle. So it's essentially a mirror image of the other motion. And what this means is if I'm dancing with a partner and I'm curving on the back half of the circle, my partner is going to be curving on the forward part of the circle. If I curve on the forward part of the circle, my partner is going to be curving on the back part of the circle. So we complement each other. If one person is circling like this, the other person is going to be circling like that. When I'm dancing by myself, it affects what the arms are doing. So if I'm curving on the front half of the circle, I can do that motion. My arm comes across towards the swing leg, exaggerating that upper torso rotation. Now if I do the other curve, I'm doing the opposite motion. So now this arm is going to be active towards the standing leg. So now I have the opposite curve. So when I'm curving on the front half of the circle, my arm is curving on the front half of the circle, guided by my direction of upper torso rotation. Moving in front of the body, the curve is going like this. And so my arms are following that circle. Now I can switch to the opposite way and curve on the back side. And that's going to give you a different feel. So this is the back half circle. See how I'm turning towards the previous standing leg, turning towards the previous standing leg, versus now I'm going to turn towards the new standing leg.